Today, we're diving into one of the most devastating civil wars in all of history, the An Lushan Rebellion. This thing exploded right in the middle of China's Tang Dynasty, an era that's famous for being a golden age of culture, power, and prosperity. So how on earth did it all go so spectacularly wrong? Let's get into it. And really, that's the big question here, isn't it? How does a time of incredible achievement and confidence just collapse into absolute chaos and bloodshed? This story, you'll see, isn't just about a war. It's about the brutal, catastrophic end of an entire world. Okay, so to really get what went wrong, you have to picture what the Tang Dynasty was like back in the mid-8th century. We're talking about a genuine peak in Chinese history. It was powerful, it was rich, and it was incredibly open to the rest of the world. This piece of pottery right here just captures the whole vibe of the era perfectly. You've got the camel, the symbol of the Silk Road, being led by a Sogdian groom from Central Asia. This wasn't some isolated, walled-off kingdom. No, this was a buzzing, cosmopolitan hub pulling in people, goods, and ideas from all over Eurasia. But under all that glitter and gold, a fatal flaw was taking root. See, to protect its massive borders, the Tang court started concentrating huge amounts of military power on the frontiers. And they put that power into the hands of regional governors, far, far away from the emperor's direct control. These governors were called the Jiedushi. And you gotta understand, these guys weren't just generals. They controlled everything in their territories: the army, the government, even the tax money. They were basically building their own private empires on the edge of the map, becoming kings in all but name. And this is where our main character, or maybe our main villain, steps onto the stage, a man named An Lushan. He was a general of mixed Sogdian and Turkic background, and he was brilliant at playing court politics. He charmed his way into the inner circle of the aging Emperor Xuanzong and became a massive favorite. He was charismatic, incredibly ambitious, and, as it turns out, dangerously powerful. And here's where it gets really scary. An Lushan's power just ballooned. He didn't just get one of these frontier commands, he eventually got control of 3 of them in the northeast. That gave him a personal army of over 160,000 battle-hardened soldiers. Nobody else in the entire empire had that kind of firepower, not even close. So you've got one man with an enormous private army, tons of political influence, and he's a long way from the capital. You can just feel that the fatal flaw in this whole system is about to crack wide open and change China forever. In December of 755, he made his move. The speed was just breathtaking. His massive army just stormed down from the north. In a little over a month, they captured the eastern capital, Luoyang. A few weeks later, he declares himself the emperor of a whole new dynasty. The Tang court, well, they had no idea what hit them. Suddenly, this wasn't just a problem on the frontier anymore. This was a full-blown existential crisis. The rebel army was now marching towards the main imperial capital, Chang'an. The very heart of the Tang Empire was about to break. Now, the Tang army had one last firewall, a nearly unbreakable fortress called the Tongguan Pass that protected the capital. But thanks to some terrible political infighting and just awful judgment back in the capital, the Tang army was ordered to abandon its defensive position and attack the rebels out in the open. It was an absolute slaughter. With the road to the capital now wide open, the unthinkable happened. The emperor and his entire court just fled. They ran for their lives, abandoning Chang'an, a glittering city of nearly 1 million people, to the mercy of the rebels. This painting really captures that sense of total chaos and desperation. But the nightmare wasn't over. On the road into exile, another tragedy was about to unfold. The emperor's own troops were furious, mutinous, and they were looking for scapegoats. They blamed the whole disaster on the chief minister and his powerful family, which just so happened to include the emperor's most beloved consort, Yang Gafei. At a place called Mawei Inn, they stopped and demanded her life. I mean, just think about that for a second. This moment shows the complete and utter collapse of imperial power. The emperor, the son of heaven, was forced by his own bodyguards to order the execution of the woman he loved. It's just a heartbreaking symbol of how far and how fast the empire had fallen. So the Tang Dynasty is in absolute ruins. But then a strange thing starts to happen. The rebellion begins to suffer from its own internal sickness. The same brutal ambition that started the war now turns inward, and the whole thing begins to eat itself alive. Believe it or not, just a year after his stunning victories, An Lushan himself was assassinated. He'd grown paranoid, sick, and incredibly cruel, and his own inner circle decided he was more of a liability than a leader. And the person who did it? His own son. The founder of the new dynasty was its first victim.
What followed was just this insane domino effect of betrayal and patricide. So An Lushan is killed by his son. Then that son is killed by An Lushan's best general, Shi Siming. And then, you guessed it, Shi Siming is murdered by his own son. All this bloody chaos gave the battered Tang forces just enough breathing room to regroup.
So by the year 763, after 8 long years, the Tang Dynasty, with a lot of help from foreign allies, finally managed to crush the rebellion. The so-called Yan Dynasty was over. But you can't even really call it a victory. Winning this war came at a cost that would permanently break the Tang Empire.
36 million. Let that number sink in for a moment. That is the estimated drop in population recorded in the imperial census from before the rebellion to after. Because of war, famine, disease, and displacement, China may have lost nearly 2/3 of its people. This is, without a doubt, one of the deadliest conflicts in all of human history.
And the scars that it left were deep and permanent. The Tang Dynasty never got its strength back. It lost control of its territories along the Silk Road forever. The whole Jiedushi system that caused the problem actually became even worse, leading to centuries of warlordism. The war completely changed China's economy, its politics, and even its entire mindset for generations to come.
And this map? Well, it shows you the brutal reality of that so-called victory. The central government's power was just shattered. Many of these provinces, especially in the northeast where it all started, were now basically independent kingdoms that just paid lip service to the emperor. The unified empire was a thing of the past. And that brings us back to where we began. The Tang Dynasty did survive the An Lushan rebellion, yes, but it was just a shadow of its former self. It won the war, but that brilliant, confident, cosmopolitan golden age, that was gone forever. It was replaced by a much darker, more fractured, and fearful world. It really makes you wonder, what does it even mean to win a war like that?